Hi, welcome to Voodoo Universe's first Facebook live stream. Woo! We're here tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about protest and protection and entitlement and racism in the pagan community. So we're so happy you're joining us. If anybody's joining us, if you're not joining us, we're trying to tape it, so hopefully we'll have it to share with you later.
Hi, welcome to the live stream.
Who are you? I'm Lilith Dorsey. Who are you?
Sorry, I'm Teron Gillis. I just approached Lilith about this. I'm a writer from Westchester. I'm here with the amazing Lilith Dorsey, who has allowed me to ask her a few questions that I had after reading some of the posts and just articles that are just going around. Specifically with social injustice. I mean, it's the elephant in the room is, it's an elephant in the room. And the
That was good.
and it's kind of, it's like going through everything. We're seeing a lot of like injustice happen on so many different levels, so many different ways, and the pagan community, and I feel like especially on Pathos, the blog, the blog website, they have had a lot of essays about people talking about like, using cursing and hexing as a way of, social justice, or using that as a way of like combating to right a wrong. So I wanted to ask someone that represented the voodoo community, as as I relate to it, because I'm reading this article and I see so many witches like respond, and I think that's great. But the pagan community is so diverse, and I didn't really see anyone really talking from like a voodoo standpoint, or like someone even talking from like really like how someone that looks like me, or like has had a life that is not, is it's just like it was that voice was lacking, and I feel like that voice is kind of always lacking in the pagan community, because when given a chance to listen to someone that is actually part of the minority of the religion you practice, if you have a chance to ask someone that practices in African American, Afro Caribbean, like Afro diaspora religion, you should ask someone from that demographic. And I feel like if you have the chance to actually understand that, and I feel like time and time again, when we the voices that we go to, when we try to the voices that we go to reaffirm our beliefs, to get a sample, a survey of what it is to go through as a root worker, as a voodoo practitioner, as a Santo practitioner, or also
So
known,
you're saying,
yeah.
okay, I'm trying to make
Sorry.
this a little reductionist because this is a little long. So I think what you're asking about is, for someone who is a person of color, what is our response to hexing, and then what also is our response to people who are coming out as allies but might not be as directly affected by the issues that we're talking about here. So for me, I think that, yes, I think that people of color should be included, obviously, and people who are writing these things or discussing these issues should really take the time and energy to find a person of color to discuss this with. That it's going to be a very different perspective. We were talking earlier, a lot of people say, I can't take my skin off, and that's definitely something I feel. I wouldn't want to take my skin off. But the fact of the matter is, I am this color, and when I walk into somewhere that has a certain set of behaviors that follow based on where we are in society right now. And that is a very different existence, and it's not one that comes from an entitled position. I think it's one that comes from a very realistic position in the way the world is today, so that makes it difficult. And I think that our voices really do need to be heard. But then on the other side of that is, how are we going to get our voices out there? We've got 4 people watching us right now. 4 people.
Oh my God, I actually did not. Okay.
Hi, 4 people.
Oh.
But I think that, it's a struggle and a challenge, and it should be something that people are mindful of. If you have a choice of seeking out an opinion or a practitioner, where are you going? What are you basing that on? And it might not necessarily be the easiest one or the one that you saw on TV, because I think TV and the media tend to hype up the non-traditional practitioners. They want to show the practitioners that look like, a nice little old Jewish lady that came from Long Island or something else like that. So I think that it's difficult to get a true picture of what voodoo looks like, because again, we were in the shadows for so long because we had to be, because this is a religion of oppressed people. And to get into, did you want to respond to that part of it? I'm going to wait a minute before we get into hexes. I don't want to go too far into hexes.
Yeah, I think.
And we have a question. Oh my gosh, I'm going to lean in.
Oh.
Hey! It's just hellos. That's all.
Hi. Okay. I'm blind.
Me too.
These glasses. I need new glasses.
So, hexing in response to some of the social injustice and racial injustice and societal injustice that a lot of us are really feeling right now.
Well, I want to actually take it back just one a little bit, because this was specifically a question. What started this whole thing was that I was reading and I'm sorry if I mispronounced this. I was reading an article, a survey done by Matt Oron. He asked 13 witches about what he asked 13 witches a series of questions that had to really do with like hexing and cursing, and this is especially prevalent now because there's so many things that are just like visually just like injustices that you can't really sweep under the rug, and like you also see like oh, what happens when there is actually there's actually a need to correct an injustice, and when people have the ability to do that. But the people they surveyed were witches, and witchcraft and voodoo are different. So if you could just explain, like, before we even like get into the questions that he has, what are your definitions of like a hex or a curse? Like, is that the proper term for a hex or a curse?
I mean, I think that there are, it's all glass half full, glass empty. I think that for some people, hex has a negative connotation, curse has a negative connotation. For some people, these things are simply protective magics that they employ to sort of keep their own livelihood, and if we're talking about somebody who is, getting gassed in the streets or feeling threatened, I think that, a hex or a curse, we hear Azealia Banks and other people like that calling for these kinds of things, and I think people got upset about that. People thought that that was reactionary, but I don't think those are the same people that were, not that she was necessarily in the streets getting gassed, but a lot of people were. So I really want to hear the response from people who have been victims of this direct violence as a result of protest. I mean, I know a lot of us, I myself was out, protesting more than once in the recent memory, and, it was all peaceful protests, but I know it's not always that way.
Okay. So with that in mind, I want to ask you these questions. Do we have any questions from the viewer?
Oh, here we go. We have a comment. It says, I would also suggest people seek out the voice of people who are actually initiated, as opposed to the more common random loudmouths. Yes. Thank you so much, my friend. I agree, and I think that this is a problem that we were discussing the other day, about that there's a lot of people who are self-proclaimed. There's a lot of people who don't really have the tradition and background, that these religions and spiritualities require. And I think that that's something that people need to take into account before they respond or react or take advice from some of these practitioners. So that's all we have time for now. We're going to do some more later. This is our first try. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye.